Hi there. What's up guys? Marc here, and today's video is going to be my review of the brand new Wacom One tablet. But also, I got two more. I mean, guess who they're for? That's right, they're for you. So keep watching the video to know how to participate in the giveaway. Let's roll the intro. Alright, so as I said, today I'll be giving my full professional review of the new Wacom One tablet. So what is the Wacom One? Well, it's meant to be the first kind of entry-level Cintiq alternative by Wacom. So when I learned about this, I got pretty interested because entry level, as I'm sure everybody knows, means, usually a lower price point. And that's the thing with Cintiq, it's always been very, very expensive. So if you wanted to draw on your screen, if you want to, to have that experience instead of a regular drawing tablet, drawing pad, where you're actually not seeing the screen, well, you had to dish out, a lot of money. Now, most people will associate Wacom with, top tier art tools, basically. So tablets, graphic tablets, they're basically the best ones out there, but also the most expensive ones. So quality comes at a price, and Cintiqs in general have been kind of out of the budget for a lot of artists, especially if you're not professional, even professional artists. So when I saw an entry-level kind of Cintiq alternative, I was very excited. So this tablet here is $400 US. So it might be a little bit more where you're from, but basically this is by far the cheapest graphic tablet where you can draw on the screen itself, released by Wacom. And in this review, hopefully, I'll let you guys know if it's worth buying. Is it worth the $400 US that they charge for this? Is it any good? How does it stack compared to other alternatives out there? Similar price range, similar size. And finally, would I recommend that you buy one, that you spend your hard-earned money on this little thing here? Let's find out. Oh, before we get started, as you saw at the beginning, right, I have two extra ones. So what happened there is basically I learned about these tablets like a week after they were released, and looking at the price point, looking at kind of what it was really, I was really intrigued, and I figured that this is something that you guys might want to learn about. So I reached out to Wacom and I'm like, hey, can I do a review on these, and can you send me a couple extra ones so that I can give it to my subscribers? But then they were like, yeah, sure, have 3 of them. So that's pretty nice, and this also means that I have 2 extra ones to give to 2 of you guys. So I'll let you know what to do to participate in the giveaway after the review. Now, this also means that they did send me the tablets to review, so I didn't have to pay for it. So it's not a sponsored video or anything like that. I'm not being paid for this, but I didn't have to pay for the tablet. So just keep that in mind. Regardless though, I always try to be 100% honest with my reviews, as I'm sure you've seen in the past. Now, I've been playing with this little toy here for about a week now. So I've tried Photoshop and ZBrush mostly. So I'm excited to let you guys know what I thought about it. But first, let's see what's in the box. All right, so here we have a box, and then hey, we have another box, and whoa, this thing comes off. Inside, we have the tablet itself. We'll put that on the side for now. Take a look at the pen. So this is the Wacom One pen, a little bit smaller than the regular Cintiq pen. Inside here, we have a little booklet with instructions. We have a regional power connector, and also the X cables. On one end, you get the HDMI and USB cables, and on the other end, another USB and USB-C cable. And of course, the Wacom One itself. All right, now if you take a look at, this thing up close, it's a very simple device in a sense. So on the top, you have the port where everything connects, and then on the other side, you have the power button, and that's about it when it comes to any port on this device. Nothing else. So nice and clean. In the back here, we have the 2 little legs that pop open, and on this side, you have the extra nibs and kind of like the nib remover. And on the other side, well, nothing at all, just a leg. And at the top of the tablet here, we have a little sleeve for the pen. You kind of slide it in. Now, one thing you probably noticed, there are no buttons on the surface, right? So it's kind of like all the newer Cintiqs, just a clean surface. So this is something that I much prefer. I really don't like to have buttons on the side because I never use them. So it's just it just makes it ugly for no reason. But I also know that a lot of people love these things. You love having buttons on the side for shortcuts and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. For me, I'm glad that they don't have any, but for you, that might be a negative. So to each his own. Now, when it comes to the surface of this thing, you can see it's kind of like a, it has a little bit of a matte finish, so it's not 100% glossy, which is nice. It's not as good in quality compared to the Pro lineup, right? So Cintiq Pros, because this is not the glass itself that has this texture. It's actually like a little film that you can peel off. Although I don't know if you can easily peel it off. I'm not gonna try. It looks very well installed, and it's even hard to kind of notice that's what it is. But nice, clean look. I'm thinking that this might get scratched up a little bit more easily than if it were actual glass, but maybe not. Like I said, I've been using this for about a week and there are absolutely no scratches yet. So that's a good sign. Nice, clean look. When it comes to the build quality, it's a cheaper model. So of course the materials are probably going to be cheaper. The plastic, it sounds cheap, but it's actually pretty thick. So if I press on it, like it doesn't really bend. Nice, clean look. I mean, a little bit, but this really feels like if I dropped it, it'd be completely fine. I'm not gonna try. Like it feels like you could take a couple of drops without any problem. So far, so good. Now, let's take a look at the specs of this thing and see how it compares to other models, and then I'll take it for a test drive. All right, so really quickly for comparison, let's start with the two most obvious to compare. That would be the Cintiq Pro 13 and of course the Wacom 1. So now of course when we look at this whole list here, there's a ton of stuff in there, but really most of that is kind of irrelevant. What we'll want to compare is the color performance, of course the price, and finally the response rate. So if we take a look here at the Wacom 1 to get a baseline for the other comparison, here we can see the color performance at NTSC 72%. So most people will probably look at this and think that this is kind of crap. But before we look at the other ones, let's take a look at this little chart here. So we can see that we have NTSC and Adobe RGB as the two bigger triangles. So those are the ones that the displays should be compared against. And when it says NTSC 72%, basically what it's saying is that it's sRGB at around 100%, very, very close to 100%, because sRGB at 100% is about 72% of the other two. So there you go. So back to the Cintiq Pro 13. If we take a look at the color gamut for this one here, it says 87% Adobe RGB. So that would be significantly better than this. Then we can take a look at the big dog, the 24 Cintiq Pro 24, and in this case we're going to have something that's pretty legendary, 99% of the Adobe RGB, so it doesn't get much better than that. Then if we look at other brands, for example here we have the Artist Display 15.6 Pro by XP Pen. Well, in terms of the color gamut, 88% NTSC, so very similar to the Cintiq Pro 13. Then we have the Artist 12 Pro by also XP Pen, so slightly smaller than the Wacom 1. So if we took a look at the price, also $249, so much cheaper. And if we take a look at the Artist Display 15.6 Pro, this is the same price, so also $400. And then we can take a look at another competitor, the Huion Canvas Pro 13, so similar size. In this case, the price is very similar, $30 less. And in terms of the color gamut here, well, they're saying 120% sRGB gamut. So again, if we look back at our little chart here, 100% of this 100% of sRGB, it's probably really close to the XP Pen here at 88 NTSC, and very close to the Wacom Cintiq Pro 13. So when it comes to the colors, definitely not the best one, but it's not bad at all. The other ones are not that much higher, except of course the Cintiq Pro 24, which well, just happens to be slightly more expensive. Now back to our original comparison. If we look at the resolution, then all of these tablets except the Wacom Cintiq 24 and the one right below that, Cintiq Pro 16, all of those are going to be full HD, so 1080p. And then we have the response rate for the Wacom 1. So response rate, obviously, you know, anything lower is better. So in this case, 26, not that great. The Wacom 13, this one has a 30 millisecond response rate, so even worse. And then the Wacom Cintiq Pro has 14 milliseconds, so a little bit better. The XP Pen, not too sure, but their smaller version here has 14 milliseconds, so the same as the Cintiq Pro 24. And then the Huion, who knows again. And another one that might be a little bit interesting, but is the pen tilt angle. So all of these support tilt, except this one here, the Huion doesn't. And by the way, if you see this here, 8,192, whoa, that's crazy. Then you look at this other one here, the Wacom 1, that has only 4,096, and you're like, ah man, this is crap. Well, not really, this means nothing at all. So as long as you have this, you are golden. You don't need more than that. Anything more than that is just a marketing trick to get you to buy their stuff, but really this means nothing. So yeah, just so you know, the 27 QHD that I have is 4,096. Older Cintiqs are only 2,048, which was already plenty. I never complained that I needed more pressure, right? So when it jumped to 4,000, it's like, sure, but why? And so just so you know, don't be too impressed by 8,000 or like crazy numbers here of pressure levels. You will never see the difference. And then also with the Wacom 1, you get a couple of extra software like this. I'm sure everybody's got their tools of choice already, so I don't know how valuable this is. There's one feature though that's pretty cool. Basically, you can connect to, of course, your computers, but also a number of Android devices. So these ones right here. So technically, if you have a phone and you have a drawing software on it, you could technically use that phone instead of a computer to be even more portable. So I thought it was kind of cool, and you can also use different other pens from different other companies instead of the one that they include, although I don't know why you would do that. The one that's included works great. But anyways, let's move on to actually testing this thing. So the first couple tests that I usually do is just a straight line at slow speed to make sure that there's no jitter in my line. And then I'll kind of draw everywhere on the screen to make sure that there's no dead spots, which of course, thankfully there weren't. And well, as you can see here, the lines are pretty damn straight. And everything responds really well. So same deal with the corners or the edges of the canvas or the edges of the screen, I should say. No problem there. The everything is just really well calibrated out of the box. Same thing for the colors. So I didn't have to tweak the colors at all. The only thing I really did in my settings is change the brightness. So the brightness was set to 75, just set it to 100, so that's a little bit brighter. But everything else is just factory settings. And then the next thing I wanted to try is the pressure, right? So I know that there's a little bit of there's a film on top of the glass, and so I wanted to see how that affects the strokes at all, how those supposedly 8 bajillion levels of pressures react, or if it makes any difference with the other Cintiq that I have. And of course it didn't. It's basically the same thing. The only thing that I've really noticed is that with the Wacom 1, when you start with a big stroke and end with a smaller stroke, like right there, as you can see here, the fall off is kind of not as even as when you start small and then apply more pressure. So I was curious, and I did the same thing on my my older 27 QHD Cintiq, and it was a little bit better. So when I started with a big stroke or big brush size and then kind of reduced the pressure to get a smaller, finer stroke, the results were a little bit more predictable. So I don't know exactly what it is here. I know it's not really the levels of pressure here that are making any difference. It's going to be how that pressure is recognized. But I have to say, it is so close to my 27 QHD Cintiq that it's still kind of impressive. And here real quick, I just loaded up a very colorful image with a lot of warm and cool colors to see, how those colors hold up, and it's beautiful. So like I said, I didn't have to change anything here, and it just looks just as good as it looks on my bigger Cintiq. So yeah, as a professional artist, I'm completely satisfied with this. So next up, I am going to actually paint something real quick to use this as I would, in real life. And basically the things that I noticed as I was doing this is the surface feels really, really good. So whatever film they have there on top of the glass, it just gives it a really, really good feel. Everything responds really well. And when I was doing the strokes, you might have noticed that there was a little bit of lag, a little bit of delay after the stroke, but that's kind of common across all tablets I've ever tried. I think my Cintiq has a little bit less lag, but that might also be because it's connected to my workstation, so I'm not exactly sure here. Either way, it didn't bother me at all. The only thing really that I was kind of bothered by is just the size, you're right? It feels so cramped, especially with the Photoshop menus in there. So for anything on the go, I wouldn't have any problems with this. But for bigger pieces, larger paintings, or if I'm, to work on super highly detailed characters in ZBrush or something like that in 3D, then this would probably feel a little bit too small for my taste. But in all cases, 2D and 3D, the tablet responded really well. The single button on the pen is not a problem at all either. I've always used just one button. So yeah, overall, that felt pretty good. So here we are. Would I recommend this tablet? Well, yes, I would recommend it to pretty much anybody that's not a professional artist. So if you're a professional, and by professional, I mean if you make enough money to basically live off of your art, I would highly recommend that you get something that's just better, right? So better color, better resolution, something like Wacom Cintiq, right? For anybody else though, especially if you've been thinking of upgrading maybe from like an Intuos tablet to a graphic display tablet, something that you can actually draw on, this would be a massive upgrade for you. If you've been thinking maybe about the Wacom Cintiq 16, but it might have been maybe a little bit too expensive. If you were on the fence because of the price, well, this is a couple $100 less, a great alternative for that. Or yeah, if you want a tablet to use on the go, this seems like this would be it. So personally, I've been looking for a tablet to use on my trips. So I've tried a Wacom Cintiq 16 Pro, Wacom 16 just regular, and both they're great, great displays, but a little bit too big for my bag. So like I would have to buy a new bag. For me, it was just a little bit too big. So this is something that might work a little bit better for me. So I'll probably be carrying this one around my travels this year. So when it comes to things I don't like versus the things I like, things I don't like, the price, obviously, that's still one of those things where I think I would have priced this at like $300 if it were me, and if I wanted to completely dominate the market at $300, there would be really no reason to recommend anything else. At $400, you gotta know that you pay for the build quality, you pay for the name, Wacom, but it's not just the name. Obviously, it's the customer support. Wacom's always been amazing, in my experience at least, and the drivers. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but drivers are actually great now. So back in the days, at the office, it was kind of like a running gag where the drivers was just complete garbage. It would crash all the time. You constantly had to reinstall them. But that hasn't been the case for me in the last couple of years. So I haven't touched my drivers. I've disinstalled a bunch of tablets and had no problem. So this is definitely something that, yes, it comes at a little bit of a premium. You pay for all of these things, but it's basically you're paying for durability, you're paying for peace of mind. And yeah, this is why I feel like this is still kind of worth it, but it's not a slam dunk like it could have been if it were cheaper. Now, a couple of the things that I don't like versus a couple of the things that I really liked. Things that I don't like, the cables. So there's a cable that plugs in the wall, a cable that plugs in your computer. Actually, two cables that plug in your computer, one that plugs in here. It's just, to me, it's like a jungle of cables. I hate cables. I hate them. And that's why I loved the Cintiq 16 Pro, because it had I think it was a single. I don't think, maybe you needed the power too. But for something like this big, I feel like this should work off of a single cable. Power and data, everything in one cable, plugged directly to the computer. Nothing to plug in the outlet. That would make this thing a lot more portable. So also for me, the resolution, a little bit low, but then again, that's, at this price range, you can't really expect anything more than that, anything more than 1080p. The colors on this, not as good, right? Not as good, not as wide a range as you would get on the higher quality models of Cintiq, for example. But yeah, that's about it when it comes to the stuff that I'm not a fan of. And now when it comes to the positives, well, so I mentioned the price as being a negative, but it's also, in this case, kind of a positive depending on who you are. So, if you've been eyeing the Wacom products and you've always wanted to to have something that you can draw on the screen, but it's always been too expensive, right? So the one before that, the 13 HD tablet, which was this size, was significantly more. And now, well, you can have the same experience on something like this for much, much cheaper. So yeah, in that sense, it is a plus. It's the cheapest graphic display tablet that Wacom has ever made. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. I'm also loving the fact that this is super light, super portable. It looks pretty sturdy, pretty durable, something that's going to be perfect for my bag, perfect for my travels. I am a big fan, although I can't use it, but I think it's an amazing idea that you can use this thing with your phone if you have an Android. Not all phones, but a bunch of Android devices support this, so you could technically just carry this around with your phone and be able to draw anywhere you go. So I wish they supported iPhones. So there you go, guys. You get a full Cintiq experience for a fraction of the cost that it would have cost you, a couple of years ago. I highly recommend that you check these out. But of course, do your homework, look around for other brands that might be better suited for you. For example, if you have like a desktop and you know that you're not going to be traveling or anything like that, it might be worth it for you to get a Cintiq or to get a tablet that's a little bit bigger than that, just so that you have more real estate on your screen and you can do maybe a little bit more. But yeah, for travel or for anybody that just really wants to draw on screen and can't afford, like the Cintiqs, this is a really good option. So if you want to check these out a little bit more in depth, you can find a link to their store down in the description. And as I promised at the beginning of this video, I am going to be giving away these two bad boys here. So to enter, to have a chance to win one of them, all you have to do is 3 different things. Pretty simple. Like the video, subscribe if you are not subscribed already, and comment down below tagging 2 friends of yours that might be interested to know more about these things. So if you do all that, you're eligible and you get 1 vote. Now you can do exactly the same thing again on my Instagram to get another vote. So same deal, make sure that you like the post, make sure that you tag 2 mates, and make sure that you follow me on there. You don't have to do both, you can just do either of them for 1 vote, but if you want to have 2 votes, you got to do it on both. And next Thursday, the 30th of January, I am going to be revealing the winners. So I'll compile the list from YouTube and the list from Instagram together, and then just randomly select 2 people that are going to be the winners. So really the only requirements to win one of these is that you live where UPS or FedEx can deliver. Anywhere they can deliver a package coming from the US, good to go. All right, so this is going to wrap it up for this video. I hope the review was helpful. I hope it's going to help you in your decision if you were looking to buy one of these things or something similar. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Now, for everybody that participated in the giveaway, good luck, and I'll be announcing the winners on the 30th, like I said, here on YouTube and on my Instagram, so keep an eye out for that. Once again, good luck, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.